Hmm. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for being here with me today. And yeah, I'm very glad to be here with you all. Who all is feeling the eclipse energy right now besides me? Whew, it's a doozy. Welcome, Donna. Good evening. Glad you're here. And I am also very looking forward to today's topic. So our topic is why we lose ourselves in relationships and why it hurts so much. Let me make sure the title, it's a little bit long. I want to check. Anyway. I am having a day. How is everybody's day so far? Give me an emoji in the chat. Or give a word. If you are new here, please share where you are joining from if you would like. And I'm super glad to be here with you all. This topic is very near and dear to my heart. So we're going to explore in our live stream today why we lose ourselves in relationships and then why it hurts so much when they end. So, I'd like to hear from you if you are joining just because you stumbled upon the live stream and you're just here. If you follow me and you like joining my lives no matter the topic, or if you're here because you're like, oh my God, this topic. And by the way, in my meditations here in Insight Timer, I believe it's my most popular meditation. I'm going to look at it on my phone to make sure of the name. My second most popular, Relationship Breakup, Self-Love Meditation, and Cord Cutting. So if you're here because you're in a breakup or you're past it but you're still holding on, you can't let go, or you need and want to let go, check out my Relationship Breakup, Self-Love Meditation, and Cord Cutting. Very powerful. I actually created it when I was in the midst of a very painful breakup myself. So I created it from that space and that energy of knowing exactly how it feels to be connected and tied to somebody and having a very painful connection, trying to move on, it feeling messy. In my case, there was emotional abuse in that relationship, so then there was that added layer of the trauma bonding that happens, the attachment that happens. So it's a very powerful meditation for anyone who is in that space and wanting to let go. Hi Kay, welcome. Putting off dating for quite a while and noticing you've lost yourself in family relationships. Yeah, so, we teach what we most need to learn. So I'm super excited about this topic today, and I will be doing a handful of these sorts of topics around relationships, around breakups, around attachment, around emotional abuse, or lack of boundaries, enmeshment, people pleasing, that all go back to childhood family dynamics. Because what happens is we have these unhealed childhood wounds, and then we look for people and partners for our entire lives to help heal those wounds. And it doesn't work. How many of you have experienced that besides me? Welcome, Cindy. Glad you're here. So, stay tuned. We're going to be diving in and exploring this. I may draw cards to augment the message. We'll see. I'm sort of feeling that. And this is more going to be a deep discussion and an exploration, because it's important, because we are all in relationship, and even if we are single, even if we've sworn off, even if we haven't had a partner in 20 years, there's still a relationship with yourself. So, we're in this dual reality of duality, right? We experience ourselves in relationship to others and to ourselves. So, very important. And this eclipse today, how many of you are into astrology besides me? I'm into it, and I'm not an expert, and this eclipse is hitting in Virgo. So if you look at where is Virgo in your chart, you can learn what this is hitting for you. I looked mine up, and it's hitting everything we're talking about today. So for me, honestly, it's been a rough day. It's been a very heavy day and a day of healing. So my follow card is up on the screen if you care to follow me and you haven't already. I'm Natalie, spiritual life coach and Reiki master teacher. I've been a teacher here on Insight Timer almost 5 years. I've been a coach for over 5 years. I've been in alcohol and drug addiction recovery for 27 years, and various other flavors of addiction recovery. Sugar addiction recovery for 5.5, and on and on. And the thing is, for people that have addictions, for people that, there's usually, you're either in one camp or the other, or both. There's some of us that are in the addiction forward camp of like substances or food or gambling, shopping. And if those aren't hot spots for you, then you're likely in the other camp of codependency and being addicted to people. Or if you're lucky, they call us double winners when you are both. Interesting, Donna. Thank you for the recommendation. I don't know if I may have heard of that book called Running on Empty. Thank you, Kay. So, how many of you can relate to losing yourself in a relationship? And, of course, we naturally think of romance first, and it does not have to be that. You may have lost yourself in a relationship with a parent as a child. You may have experienced enmeshment. You may have lost yourself in a relationship with a best friend. Maybe they decided everything, and, they were very controlling, and you had to say yes to everything that they wanted to do, and you could never have your own voice. So this does not just have to be about romance. You may have lost yourself with a boss, right? So you can think about what it is for yourself to where this relates. And you can share in the chat, if you care to, which dynamic you're coming to this live stream with. Yeah, and you are not alone. You know, in my work as a life coach, I mainly work in the realm because I'm spiritual, I'm spiritually based, because of my own journey, because of what's important and interesting to me. I help people with relationships the most. I help people with relationship dynamics with others, and most of all with themselves. Because I even said this in a session yesterday with a client, how we do one thing is how we do everything, and that includes relationships. Okay, having that, losing yourself with a parent, totally hear you on that. I can relate. Mine was with my father. Yeah, and Donna, losing yourself as part of a relationship, but then seeing how, as a result of being engulfed or being consumed by the relationship, that part of that dynamic was that you lost everything else. You lost everything important in your life outside of that relationship. Does that land? Does that make sense? And great, Kay, that you have created space and distance. Great that your mother has started counseling. You know, it's all, you know, to even start that is a victory, and she is not you, right? So it sounds like you're doing work on yourself, like you have done that. I would suggest, you know, there's a number of 12-step programs. You know, and the reason why I suggest those is, one, they saved my life, and two, they're free and they're very accessible all over the world, especially now online. You know, there's meetings 24/7 about most any kind of topic that you can think of. So great that you've already got that support. Yeah, I mean, family is the deepest, they're the source relationships that we have. So yeah, we can look at, you know, the dynamics of losing ourselves in a romantic relationship, and then we get to look back at family of origin. Carl Jung talks about, I'm paraphrasing, but that, you know, we have to heal our shadow. We have to dive into the subconscious, the unconscious, those limiting beliefs, the programs, all of the trauma that's stored from 0 to 8 years old, because that is still stored in our bodies. And until we heal that, it runs our lives. And that's why we distract. That's why we're addicted. That's why we lose ourselves. And that's why, especially in a romantic relationship, when it ends, it feels like the end of the world. It feels like the end of everything. Because if you have lost yourself as a result of a romantic relationship, when that ends, then it's like, who are you? You've only known yourself in relation to that. And if it's been toxic, if it's been dysfunctional, if you don't even know who you are anymore, it can be very ungrounding. Cindy, wow, 34 years. I am proud of you and congratulations that it's over for 6 months. And it's not easy, and saying those words don't even, touch how deep it is to heal from that. Okay, awesome that you've also done inner child healing. So yeah, how many of you are familiar with internal family systems, parts work as it's called? And this is, looking at, we have these different parts within ourselves that play roles, that express in certain ways, and that we, can tune into that energy and then embody and express as that. So when we can start to learn and kind of feel into and get to know these parts, that is also part of our healing, because we disown parts of ourselves. And for most of us, if you grew up in a toxic family dynamic, it was not okay to be angry. So if you, as a child, expressed anger or displeasure to a parent who was emotionally immature or dysfunctional or unhealed or in their own toxic shame, you were shut down. And you learned it is not okay to express anger. And so what happens is we disown that part of ourselves. We become the people pleaser. We become the enabler. We become the caretaker. Hi, Lorette. So yeah, there's a lot here. And check out IFS, Internal Family Systems, Parts Work, if what I'm talking about is resonating with you. So going back to, if we're looking at this in the lens of romance, marriage, that sort of relationship. If you think about how did you first meet, how you first met, what were those early dynamics like? Most of the time, these sorts of enmeshed, dysfunctional, abusive relationships start out with certain tendencies that start with engulfment. It's called like oceanic love. How many of you can relate to that falling in love and that person's your world and everything else falls away, nothing else matters. You stop going out with your friends, you stop everything because you just want to be with this person. You idealize them. They idealize you. Maybe there's what we now call love bombing happening. Love at first sight. You complete me. So all of these things that are so common, that our culture and society as humans, we idealize and turn into fairy tales, Disney, you know, falling in love, especially women and girls, knight in shining armor. You know, how many women here as a child fantasized about your wedding day? Like, all of these things. So I really just want to slow down on that and vocalize, like, legitimize where all this comes from. So Donna, having hindsight, of course, hindsight is a beautiful gift and can help us moving forward. But of course, you know, when you're in it and when it just happens, you know, you don't know what you don't know, or you don't see what you don't want to see sometimes. So you thought in the beginning it was because your partner loved you so much that he was jealous, didn't want to share you, but now you see that that was a red flag. Who doesn't want to be chosen? How many of you feel like you were not chosen in childhood by one or both of your primary caretakers? So when you get that feeling of somebody choosing you, that you choose, that you want to be chosen by, it hits so deep and feels so nourishing in the moment because it's hitting that old unhealed wound. If this is resonating, give an emoji, give a heart. You are not alone here. Hi, Orchid. Wonderful. Wonderful that you are contemplating. I invite you to be very discerning. And in the beginning, how many of you besides me can relate to you just want to be with them all the time? They're perfect. You don't see any flaws. They can do no wrong. Yeah, so there are boundaries and structures that you can put in place, Orchid, and anyone else who is in the experience of getting to know somebody new in dating and romance. So discernment comes with space, in staying grounded in our own lives and having our own boundaries around how we are going to interface with the new person. And that means I keep my hobbies, I keep my friends, I keep my daily going to the gym, I keep my book club. And if, you know, my new person asked me to make a plan, and it would mean canceling one of my prior commitments, I do not do it. I am not overly available in that I'm not available every single day. Going slow here, keeping the brakes on, allows space so that the oxytocin and all of those chemistry and attraction chemicals don't take over and start driving the bus. Hi, Allie. Hi, Karen. Both of your parents, I hear you on that. So this is how, if you can relate to losing yourself in past relationships, how to do it differently in the future. Yeah. And see, you know, we it's a natural human thing, especially those of us empaths. Who else is an empath? Who else is highly sensitive? Who else, you know, we're all here in Insight Timer. So I can make a broad assumption. Of course, there will be exceptions, that everyone here is on a spiritual path and a spiritual journey, and spirituality and personal development and being our best is important. And so as humans, we do this thing where we just assume the other person is the same, and that they are like us, and that, you know, we treat people the way we want to be treated, and we just assume the best from them, and that they have our same perspective and worldview. Can anyone relate to that or see that, where they've done that? And that we interpret people's actions through our own lens, and so we just assume the best. Now, we don't want to go into the toxic extreme of, you know, zero trust and assuming the worst. But again, that's where the discernment comes in, this balance. Because we don't know people's intentions, and that's why you don't want to rush into anything and let all of the wonderful hormones and chemicals take over and start making all of your decisions, because that is how you get lost. And then, how many of you have been, like what all that I'm saying, how many of you can relate to this? And if you can, how many of you have been on the other side when it didn't turn out so well? And that's probably being very positive. Because when we lose ourselves, then when it ends, it feels like death. How many of you have felt that? It feels like a literal soul-crushing death to have the end of a connection. It might not have even been a full-on relationship. I can raise my hand. That's why I'm here. I am healing this. I mean, I've been on a journey for a long time, and I'm diving deeper into this. That's why I'm doing this live stream, and I'm going to be offering more. And also, because of all of this, I have started an Etsy store where I am offering digital downloadable workbooks that address these topics. So I have a trauma bond recovery workbook. I have an anxious attachment breakup recovery workbook. I have a narcissistic abuse recovery. So if that's interesting to you, you can send me a message. I can share the link. But these sorts of resources can also be very helpful in healing at these deep levels. How many of you have, you know, tried to do this alone? And maybe you've gotten somewhere, but you feel like maybe you're treading water. And that's where extra support, if it's in the form of, you know, one of my resources, in the form of working with me or somebody like me one-on-one. And I will take a moment now to offer my visioning process to anybody here that's new, that has never had a session with me. We can look at this topic specifically. Where are you stuck in this dynamic? Have you been creating the same relationship dynamics over and over, expecting a different result? And then, what do you want? And if the relationship piece isn't resonant for you right now, then we can look at anything in your life, any place where you feel stuck. And what's interesting is is that when you heal in one area, it's going to ripple outwards. So if you have relationship issues that are unhealed, likely you have money issues. How many of you have scarcity and lack issues or under-earning? Not earning enough, debting. You will be surprised how much these two things are related. Donna, that's a great realization that you're like, you know, I think the way that I think, and that's okay. And when you ignored that, you lost yourself. True. Hi, J.E. Yeah, so some of you have been on the other side, right? Of somebody that gets consumed and loses themselves in a relationship and then drops everything. Yeah, totally. So we're all here. We've all lived through every experience that we've had, right? So even though that's like super obvious, I really want you to just feel into that for a minute. Like, every memory that you have, however painful, you are here. You have made it. You're in one piece. You're not alone. And we heal together. We do not heal in isolation. We cannot heal alone. And for those of you that are on the other side, or maybe even contemplating leaving a relationship where you've lost yourself, or maybe you've left and now you're feeling like it feels like life and death, life is over. Of course, be discerning. If you need, emergency mental health help, please get that. This live stream is not adequate. And that all goes without saying. But coming out of the shadows, coming into the light, being honest with yourself about what this pattern has cost you. Again, if it's romance, if it's parent, sibling, child, how many of you can relate to being in this dynamic with one of your children? If you have children. We can lose ourselves. I had a very close friend who had a very interesting dynamic that I witnessed and that she was aware of with her son, where it was almost this romantic obsession. I mean, not in nothing like, I want to say romantic, but it was more like overly preoccupied with how he felt about her, and she was always trying to make sure, she had his approval and was pleasing him, and kind of like a helicopter mom, but he was, in his 20s, and kind of always seemed like she was trying to win or keep his approval. And to me, it felt like romantic connections that I had had, although it wasn't in that sense. So this can show up in so many ways. When we give our power away and we lose our center. Thank you, Orchid, for the donation. So in Al-Anon, which is a program for families and friends of alcoholics, it talks about orbiting around your who are you orbiting around? Are you orbiting around yourself, or are you orbiting around somebody else? So if you've lost yourself in a relationship, you are not orbiting around yourself. So that means you have no center, and that means there is nobody here. And if there's nobody here, then who's tending the farmhouse? How many of you can relate to just that all-consuming obsession, rumination, where you are just living in the other person's head and in the other person's world? I have been in that many times, and I have just recently, well, somewhat recently, coming out of that, and it is so painful because it feels, you're in another world. And again, yes, we want to heal like whatever dynamic is happening in your three-dimensional reality right now, like whatever's present. And the real deep healing is going to occur within you, your relationship with yourself, and you healing your inner child wounds and your childhood wounds. So, if this resonates, as I said, I have many resources in my Etsy store I would love to share. And also, as I said, with my one-on-one gifted visioning process that I'm offering. And I'm excited to dive in with people into this, because to me, it's the deepest work we can do. Oh, interesting, Kay. I haven't heard that before. So, I'm going to draw a couple cards from Lightseer's Tarot and just see what deeper spirit messages might show up around everything that we're saying today. Because where we are as a collective and with humanity, it's time. The shadows are coming up. It's like, this might be a gross analogy, but it's just true, of like a pimple that's about ready to cleanse itself. That's what the shadow stuff is underneath. It's been there. It's been hidden. And we just go on about our lives. And that's okay. We're doing our best. And it's time, as a collective, individually, that we start to heal and look at this shadow, subconscious and unconscious stuff that runs us. And we will continue to create the same relationship dynamics over and over until we get to that root. So you're faced with a choice here, or many choices. And there's not a quote, good or bad here. Like, if you're like, nah, this is too painful, I'm not ready, it's totally fine, sweetie. And this stuff is going to just be ready when you're ready. It's not going anywhere. So even if you can see, it looks like my screen, I'm kind of breaking up, but whatever. You can see these 7 cups, and there's different things like hiding in and around them. There's a snake, there's a bat, there's a ladder, there's water coming out of one. So, this also represents the shadows. Are you going to lift up the cup and actually look at what's in here and what's inside? And if you're like, I'm not ready, that's fine. I haven't been ready. I mean, I have and I haven't for a long time, and I am now, and that's fine. Donna, I'm so sorry that you've been through this. I'm so proud of you for your courage that you're demonstrating to change. And that sounds really stressful, and I'm sorry that that's happened to you. That you've lived in that state of fear and anxiety. And you are healing, you have healed, there's more healing to come, and it will take time, and that's okay. You know, that's the journey. So let's see. What else? We have the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups can represent new love. And so for some of you, I know at least one person here mentioned like a new possible love connection. That may be in the cards for some of you. And also I feel like what this means is that when you make the choice to do this deep work, that you are going to create a new connection as a result of you doing this deep healing. And if you're like not in the market romantically, then this card is for your own self-love and healing. I mean, that's for everybody. And again, if you're not looking for romance, then this is the romance with yourself. Beautiful. And notice that these are both cups energy. Cups are emotions. So let me know if you have any questions or comments about this topic. If this is helpful, please give me a follow, give a donation if you would like. Again, I have the meditation here in the free section of my tracks about the relationship cord cutting. And also my resource library of healing workbooks from breakup and toxic relationship recovery. And yes, Donna, exactly. I think there's a lag. My service is kind of going in and out, so I may not be seeing all your comments or seeing them in real time. So as a result of you looking deeply at yourself and doing this deep healing work, you're going to have, again, new love for yourself, possibly opportunities with others, and you're just going to have a new energy that you haven't felt in a long damn time. And again, this is another page, the Page of Wands. So pages are youthful energy, innocent energy. They are possibilities and potential. So there will be potential here. It's not certain. I mean, nothing is certain. But if this was a knight, a queen, a king, there's more grounding and certainty. The page is more possibility. But that means you have to take the action to really bring it into form. And wands are about creativity. Wands are about energy, passion, fire. So I feel like you're gonna like get your juju back. I want to say. And first, you know, I think this card also represents, like I was saying, the different parts that we have inside of us. You know, the wounded child, the rebellious teenager, the caretaker, the lost child, the black sheep, whatever, all of those parts. You know, you also get to excavate and heal as well. And I know you all have heard this before, but in order to heal it, you need to feel it. And that's literal. So it's not just about talking about the pain or talking about, you know, the dynamics, or talking about, you know, it feels like I want to die. Because talking can be a form of bypassing what's actually happening inside of your body in the moment. So in my sessions, we do this often. I will slow people down. I will say, let's take a breath here. Let's take a few breaths. What are you noticing in your body right now? Because the trauma is stored here, the energy is stored here in our nervous system. The energy from childhood, the trauma, the suffering is stored here. So sure, it's helpful to talk about it, and we must actually be with the sensations. And you get to teach yourself by reparenting yourself that you will not die even though you feel like it. You might feel like your world's ending because you were left or broken up with or betrayed or cheated on, or maybe the friendship ended. You know, my best friend, not now, but I had a best friend in the past who ended the friendship. It was very painful. This morning, I had a very deep inner child grief, sadness, healing, relief experience that was somewhat spontaneous, and it was very intense. I attribute it to the eclipse and the Mercury retrograde and all the other deep healing work that I'm doing. And you know, it can be scary because it's so intense, those emotions. How many of you can relate to that? And this is where we get to be the parent that we never had. And so I was with myself. And I was with my emotions and with myself and held space for myself. And I also had my teddy bear that I brought with me from the US that is almost 50 years old, just like me. And I was with that part, that wounded child. And I reassured her and comforted her. So this is how we heal from losing ourselves in relationships. We heal from if we feel like, it feels like death when they end. Because it was life and death as children, because we needed our parents to survive. Thank you, Donna, for the donation. Hi, Summer Star. Wonderful to see you. So at the bottom of the deck is this Queen of Wands. So again, the more embodied energy than the page. And they're both wonderful, but you can tell they're different energies. This is more youthful, innocent, ungrounded. new potential and possibility. At the bottom is the Queen. So to me, this is who you really are. Deep within you, you are this Queen of Wands. You are sovereign. You are a cheerleader for yourself. She's delighting in herself. She sees and acknowledges her own inner light. So whenever you uncover all of these shadows and heal and start working with these parts, you're going to be delighted. Look at, she's got a light in the palm of her hand. You are going to rediscover or discover for yourself that divine, infinite, pure, innocent place inside of you that's never left, that just has, been covered up by the world, and that's okay. That's the journey that we're on. Thank you, Donna. So, we will go ahead and wrap up for now. Again, if you feel stuck in this area or any area of your life and you haven't yet received a gifted session with me, send me a private message. I will take you through a powerful visioning process where we can look at this area or any area of your life where you feel stuck, and we will get altitude on that and look at what's working, what's not working, and then where you want to go. I know many of you were here Sunday. This big bold vision card keeps coming up over and over and over again. We get to look to the future, to what you want to create, and taking steps towards that. Send me a message if that feels in alignment for you. Again, I have digital resources in my Etsy store, so send me a message. I can send you a link to that, and you can do some